For nearly a decade, Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer stumbled through life in Manhattan, turning the mundane, a parking spot, a soup order, a puffy shirt, into comedic gold. The ensemble cast became household names, their characters woven into the DNA of pop culture. But that was then. Now, more than 35 years have passed since that first episode aired, and the world, and these actors, have changed in fascinating, surprising, and sometimes heartbreaking ways. From Emmy Award winners to personal reinventions, from Hollywood comebacks to quiet retirements, the journey of the Seinfeld cast is a story that's every bit as compelling as the show itself. Where are they now? What happened after the curtain fell on that final courtroom scene? Get comfortable, because we're diving deep. Before we kick things off, if you're a fan of nostalgia content, throwbacks, and celebrity deep dives, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We put out this kind of content every week, and you will not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's get into it, starting with number 1. Number 1. Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld. When Seinfeld debuted in the summer of 1989, Jerry Seinfeld was already a working stand-up comedian with a solid reputation on the club circuit. Born on April 29, 1954, in Brooklyn, New York, he was 35 years old when the show first aired. A comedian's comedian who found his way to television almost by accident. The concept for the show grew out of conversations between Seinfeld and fellow comedian Larry David about the everyday observations that fueled their stand-up acts. What if a show was built around that? What if nothing was the premise? As the fictionalized version of himself, Jerry Seinfeld played a neat, sardonic, commitment-phobic comedian living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. His character was the calm center of a chaotic universe. The straight man who watched the world with a raised eyebrow and a perfectly timed quip. Jerry wasn't flashy, but he was essential. Every episode essentially opened and closed with him performing stand-up, tying the absurdity of the plot back to the real-world observations that inspired it. It was a device that felt fresh, self-aware, and uniquely Jerry. Over 9 seasons, Jerry's performance was consistently sharp. He wasn't the most emotionally expressive actor in the ensemble. That was by design. His job was to anchor the madness, and he did it brilliantly. Behind the scenes, he was also a producer and writer, deeply involved in crafting the show's voice, alongside Larry David. When David departed after season 7, Seinfeld took on even more creative responsibility, shepherding the series through its controversial finale in 1998. When the show ended, Jerry Seinfeld made a decision that surprised Hollywood. He walked away from a reported $5 million per episode offer for a 10th season. He simply felt the show had reached its peak and didn't want to compromise its legacy. That kind of artistic integrity was rare, and it defined everything that came next. He returned full-time to stand-up comedy and never really left. Over the following decades, he toured extensively, released multiple acclaimed specials, and became one of the highest-earning comedians in the world. His 2020 Netflix special 23 Hours to Kill was met with widespread praise, and his 2024 film Unfrosted, a quirky comedy about the invention of the Pop-Tart, marked his feature directorial debut. Critics were divided, but audiences appreciated his willingness to take creative risks. Beyond the stage and screen, Jerry Seinfeld is also widely known for his passion for Porsche automobiles. He has one of the most valuable private car collections in the world, and he created the web series Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which ran for 11 seasons and became one of Netflix's most beloved original series. The show was quintessential Jerry, low-key, conversational, brilliantly observed. On the personal front, Jerry married Jessica Sklar in 1999, and the couple has 3 children together, Sasha, Julian, and Shepard. By all accounts, his home life has been grounded and private, a contrast to his very public career. He divides his time between New York and the Hamptons, and at 71 years old, he shows no signs of slowing down. Jerry Seinfeld's journey is a testament to the power of knowing who you are, protecting what you've built, and never stopping the work. He turned a show about nothing into everything, and then quietly and confidently built a second act just as impressive as the first. Number 2. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Elaine Benes. If Jerry Seinfeld was the show's center of gravity, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was its electric current. Born on January 13, 1961 in New York City, she was 28 years old when Seinfeld began. A veteran of Saturday Night Live who had spent 3 seasons on the sketch comedy institution before landing the role that would change her life. Elaine Benes was unlike any female character on American television at the time. She was ambitious, opinionated, sexually frank, petty, hilarious, and deeply flawed. And audiences loved her for every single one of those qualities. In an era when women on sitcoms were often defined by their relationships to men, Elaine stood apart. She was Jerry's ex-girlfriend, yes, but she was also her own fully realized person, navigating careers, dating disasters, and friendships on her own terms. Her famous dance move alone became an enduring piece of television history. Julia's comedic instincts were extraordinary throughout the show's run. Her physical comedy, facial expressions, and impeccable timing elevated every scene she was in. She was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series at the Emmy Awards multiple times during the show's run and won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Television Series, Comedy or Musical in 1994. But even that didn't fully capture what she brought to the role. After Seinfeld ended in 1998, Julia faced the dreaded post-iconic show challenge. Her next sitcom, Watching Ellie, debuted in 2002 but struggled to find its footing and was canceled after 2 seasons. For a moment, it seemed like she might follow the pattern of other cast members who had difficulty escaping the long shadow of the show. But Julia Louis-Dreyfus is not most people. In 2006, she returned to television with The New Adventures of Old Christine on CBS. Playing a divorced woman navigating single parenthood and an ever-complicating social life. The show ran for 5 seasons, and Julia won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series for her role, her first solo Emmy win, and a signal to the industry that she was only getting started. Then came Veep. Debuting on HBO in 2012, the political satire cast Julia as Selena Meyer. Wacky, a catastrophically self-absorbed vice president of the United States navigating the absurdities of Washington. The role was a revelation. Sharp, biting, and politically fearless, Veep allowed Julia to flex her comedic and dramatic muscles in ways that surpassed even Seinfeld. The accolades were staggering. She won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series 6 consecutive times for Veep, a record in Emmy history. Combined with her other wins, she holds more Emmy Awards than any other performer in the history of the award for acting in the same role. In 2017, Julia publicly announced that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer, sharing the news on social media with characteristic honesty and humor. She underwent treatment while simultaneously filming Veep, a testament to her extraordinary resilience. By 2018, she announced she was cancer-free, and the outpouring of support from fans, colleagues, and the entertainment industry was immense. She has since continued working steadily, with roles in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, appearing in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, and Thunderbolts. Married to writer and producer Brad Hall since 1987, she is the mother of 2 sons. At 64 years old, Julia Louis-Dreyfus stands as one of the greatest comedic actors in television history, not just a Seinfeld alumni, but an institution in her own right. Number 3. Jason Alexander. George Costanza. Ask any Seinfeld fan to name their favorite character, and a large number of them will say George Costanza without hesitation. Played with breathtaking comic energy by Jason Alexander, George was a man defined by insecurity, self-deception, pettiness, and an almost heroic capacity for failure, and yet somehow utterly lovable. Born J. Scott Greenspan on September 23, 1959 in Newark, New Jersey, while Alexander was 29 years old when the show premiered. George Costanza was, famously, largely based on co-creator Larry David, a short, stocky, bald New Yorker prone to catastrophic decision-making and elaborate rationalizations. Jason Alexander brought the character to life with a physicality and emotional vulnerability that was nothing short of brilliant. Whether he was lying about being an architect, scheming to get his parking space back, or eating a massive sandwich at his desk, Alexander made George's failures feel achingly, hilariously human. He received 7 consecutive Emmy nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, winning once in 1994. Off-screen, Jason Alexander came from a serious theatrical background. Before Seinfeld, he had won a Tony Award in 1989 for his role in the Broadway musical Jerome Robbins' Broadway. He was, first and foremost, a stage actor who brought theatrical precision to every comedic beat. That training showed. After Seinfeld ended, Alexander had a more challenging transition than some of his co-stars. His CBS sitcom Bob Patterson, in which he played a self-help guru, was canceled after just a few episodes in 2001. A later project, Listen Up, met a similar fate. Hollywood, it seemed, couldn't figure out what to do with him outside the shadow of George Costanza. But Alexander remained busy and productive. He dove back into theater, performing in Broadway productions and national tours. He took on voice acting roles, most notably as the title character in the animated series Duckman during the 1990s. He made frequent television appearances, guest starring on shows ranging from Curb Your Enthusiasm, In a Full Circle Moment, playing himself, to Criminal Minds. He also developed a side career as a director and producer. In recent years, Alexander has been candid in interviews about the challenges of being associated so strongly with one iconic character. He has spoken openly about the difficulties of being typecast and the personal work it took to find peace with his legacy. His transparency has made him one of the more relatable and respected figures from the Seinfeld universe. On a personal note, Jason Alexander has been married to Dana E. Title since 1982, a remarkably stable, long-lasting relationship in an industry not known for them. The couple has 2 sons. He has also been vocal about his Jewish heritage and his involvement in various charitable causes. At 65 years old, Alexander continues to work in theater and television, and while the blockbuster Hollywood career never fully materialized, his artistic contributions are undeniable. George Costanza will live forever, and that's largely because of the extraordinary heart Jason Alexander poured into him. Our number 4, Michael Richards. Cosmo Kramer. No character entrance in sitcom history is quite like Kramer's. That sliding burst through Jerry's apartment door, the wide-eyed look of perpetual astonishment, the magnificent physical comedy that followed. Michael Richards created something truly singular in Cosmo Kramer. Born on July 24, 1949, in Culver City, California, Richards was 39 years old when Seinfeld began, and he brought a physicality to the role that defied description. Kramer was the chaos agent of the group, a man without a steady job, without apparent financial concerns, and with an endless supply of harebrained schemes. He was the neighbor who constantly wandered into Jerry's apartment, the friend who stumbled into every episode with a new disaster trailing behind him. But what made Kramer great wasn't just the chaos. It was Michael Richards' extraordinary commitment to the physical. His pratfalls, his rubber-limbed reactions, his ability to fill a room with pure kinetic energy were the work of a physical comedian at the absolute peak of his powers. He won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series 3 times for the role, a remarkable achievement and a clear industry acknowledgement that what he was doing was singular and irreplaceable. Then came 2006. In one of the most shocking moments in entertainment history, Michael Richards had a catastrophic breakdown during a stand-up comedy performance at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, unleashing a deeply offensive racist tirade against audience members who had heckled him. The incident was caught on video and spread rapidly, devastating his reputation overnight. The fallout was immense. Richards appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman via satellite alongside Jerry Seinfeld to deliver a public apology that was widely seen as sincere, but clearly insufficient for many. The damage was done. In the years that followed, Richards largely retreated from public life. He gave occasional interviews and spoke with painful honesty about the incident, exploring the deeper psychological roots of his outburst in conversations with Jerry Seinfeld on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where he appeared in a raw and searching episode that many viewers found genuinely moving. He reflected on therapy, self-examination, and the long road to understanding his own behavior. In 2023, Richards published a memoir titled Entrances and Exits, one in which he offered his most personal and detailed reflection on his career, the Kramer years, and the night that changed everything. The book was a striking act of vulnerability, an attempt at accountability, processing, and self-understanding that many readers found compelling, even if opinions remained divided. Michael Richards has been largely retired from acting since the incident. His personal life has been relatively quiet. He was previously married to Kathleen Lyons, with whom he has a son, and later married Elizabeth Lawnfry in 2013. At 75 years old, his legacy is one of genuine contradictions, an extraordinary talent whose greatest professional achievement is permanently shadowed by one terrible night. Number 5. Wayne Knight. Newman. He was the nemesis, the villain, the man in the mail carrier uniform who turned a simple, "Hello, Newman," into one of the most famous two-word phrases in television history. Wayne Knight brought the recurring character of Newman to life with such gleeful pomposity that he became an indispensable part of the Seinfeld universe, despite never being a series regular in the traditional sense. Born on August 7, 1955, in New York City, Wayne Knight was 34 years old when Seinfeld began. A character actor with a background in theater and a gift for playing delicious antagonists, Newman was Jerry's nemesis, a lazy, scheming postal worker who served as a foil for Jerry's tidy worldview. The genius of Newman was that he was petty on a grand scale, conspiring, manipulating, and indulging himself with the confidence of a man who believed he deserved far more than the world had given him. Knight had already scored a memorable film role before Seinfeld. He played the traitorous computer programmer Dennis Nedry in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park in 1993, and being famously eliminated by a Dilophosaurus in one of the film's most iconic scenes. It was proof that his talents extended well beyond the sitcom world. After Seinfeld, Knight continued to work steadily in television and film. He had a recurring role on Third Rock from the Sun as Officer Don Orville and made guest appearances in numerous other series. He also returned to voice acting, lending his distinctive vocal presence to animated projects including Toy Story 2, in which he voiced Al McWiggin. In 2012, Knight experienced a serious health scare when he suffered a heart attack. He has spoken publicly about the experience and his subsequent focus on health and recovery. There was also a period around 2012 when incorrect reports of his death circulated on social media, a surreal experience that he handled with good humor in interviews. Today, Wayne Knight continues to act and remains one of the most fondly remembered supporting players from the Seinfeld era. At 69 years old, he carries Newman's legacy with a combination of pride and amusement, understanding that playing television's greatest postal nemesis is, in many ways, a gift. Number 6. Jerry Stiller. Frank Costanza. Few characters arrived on Seinfeld and immediately felt as though they had always been there as Frank Costanza. Jerry Stiller took over the role from actor John Randolph in Season 5 and promptly made it entirely his own, turning George's perpetually furious, emotionally volatile father into a comedic institution. Born on June 8, 1927, in Brooklyn, New York, Stiller was already in his mid-60s when he joined the cast. A veteran actor and comedian who had spent decades in show business alongside his wife and comedy partner, Ann Mira. Frank Costanza was a man of operatic intensity. He argued at full volume, invented fictional holidays, and carried resentments with a kind of Olympic dedication. Jerry Stiller played every moment with complete sincerity, which made the character's absurdity land with perfect precision. His chemistry with Estelle Harris, who played his wife Estelle, was electric. Two forces of nature colliding in every scene, creating comedic chaos that felt both exhausting and irresistible. After Seinfeld, Stiller found enormous success on another beloved sitcom, playing Arthur Spooner, the eccentric, self-centered father-in-law, on The King of Queens. which ran from 1998 to 2007. He was a series regular and a central comedic engine of the show, proving that his Seinfeld renaissance was no fluke. Beyond television, Jerry Stiller remained active in film and theater well into his later years, and he was also widely respected as one of the great figures of New York comedy. His son, Ben Stiller, Nelton Poole, became one of the most successful comedic actors and directors in Hollywood, a legacy that Jerry discussed with visible pride in countless interviews. Jerry Stiller passed away on May 11, 2020, at the age of 92. His death was announced by Ben Stiller on social media, who described his father passing peacefully of natural causes. The entertainment world mourned the loss of a comedic giant, a man whose career spanned 7 decades and whose work on Seinfeld alone would have secured his place in television history. His joy, his fury, and his genius remain permanently embedded in the culture. Number 7. Estelle Harris, Estelle Costanza. If Frank Costanza was a hurricane, Estelle Costanza was the storm surge that came with it. Played with magnificent, needle-sharp energy by Estelle Harris, George's mother was a woman of spectacular neuroses, hovering, criticizing, catastrophizing, and loving in the only way she knew how, loudly, relentlessly, and with tremendous guilt. Born on April 4, 1928 in New York City, Harris was in her early 60s when she joined the Seinfeld cast and proceeded to steal every single scene she appeared in. Estelle Harris brought a uniquely authentic voice to the role, literally. Her high-pitched, nasal delivery was instantly recognizable and perfectly calibrated for maximum comedic effect. The dynamic between Estelle and Jerry Stiller's Frank was one of the great comedic partnerships in sitcom history. Two people who seemed to drive each other to the brink of madness while somehow remaining inseparable. Their scenes together crackled with a specific, gloriously messy energy that felt ripped from real life. Outside of Seinfeld, Estelle Harris was perhaps best known to younger audiences as the voice of Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story franchise, beginning with Toy Story 2 in 1999. It was a role she reprised across multiple films and spin-offs, bringing her warmth and distinct vocal personality to a beloved animated character. She also continued to make television appearances throughout the 2000s and 2010s, and her voice work kept her connected to new generations of fans. Estelle Harris passed away on April 2nd, 2022, just 2 days before what would have been her 94th birthday. Her son confirmed her death, and tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Jason Alexander, Jerry Seinfeld, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus all paid their respects publicly, reflecting on what she had meant to the show and to them personally. She was remembered as a warm, funny, and deeply professional performer whose contributions to Seinfeld were far greater than her screen time might suggest. George Costanza would not have been the same without the mother who made him, and Estelle Harris made that mother unforgettable. From a summer pilot that barely anyone expected to succeed, Seinfeld became one of the defining cultural touchstones of the 20th century, and the people who brought it to life have each gone on to write chapters that are fascinating, inspiring, complicated, and deeply human in their own ways. Jerry Seinfeld never stopped being Jerry Seinfeld, a comedian committed to his craft with rare and unwavering focus. Julia Louis-Dreyfus rewrote the story of what a post-iconic show career could look like, stacking accolades and breaking records with a fearlessness that is genuinely awe-inspiring. Jason Alexander wrestled with the blessing and the weight of George Costanza, finding his way back to the work that always gave him purpose. Michael Richards faced the hardest possible reckoning with himself and has spent years in the difficult, necessary work of looking inward. Wayne Knight carved out a career defined by memorable characters and enduring warmth. And Jerry Stiller and Estelle Harris, two of New York's great comedic spirits, gave us Frank and Estelle Costanza and left us richer for it. Television runs in cycles. Shows come and go, but Seinfeld endures. On streaming platforms, in cultural references, in the phrases and ideas that have become part of everyday language. No soup for you. Yada yada yada. Not that there's anything wrong with that. These aren't just quotes from a sitcom. They're pieces of a shared vocabulary, proof of what happens when extraordinary talent, perfect timing, and a genuinely original vision come together. The cast of Seinfeld gave us something that very few casts ever get the chance to give: a permanent place in the cultural imagination. And whatever paths they've walked since that final episode aired on May 14th, 1998, that gift remains, timeless, endlessly rewatchable, and still, somehow, hilarious. If you enjoyed this journey through then and now, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. Drop a comment below telling us who your favorite Seinfeld character was and why. And if you're new here, subscribe and join the community. There is a lot more where this came from. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.